This time on Boner Revivals, I buy this small block Chevy 283 for $250 off a marketplace. Is it any good? Let's find out together. Hi, I'm Robert. Welcome to Boner Revivals. What did we do this time? We bought another engine. Was I trying to buy this one? No, absolutely not. Basically, the way that this one worked out was I was actually on Marketplace looking for a 305 block for our buddy John Walp that races the sprint cars. Did some damage to his, blew it up. And so I was on Marketplace, looking for a 305 block, that he could use to build his motor and so he can go racing. And then, I just happened to be blindly stumbling through, and I just stumbled upon this beauty. We're going to get out of the truck here so you guys can get a closer look at it. But this is a 283 small block Chevy. That's right. Some of the old school guys that have done some hot rodding in their days know how awesome and how cool this engine actually is. Let's get it out of the truck so we can get a closer look at it. Well, boys, here she is. She looks reasonably clean. It's from what I was told. So here's the whole story on this. I literally bought this thing. Are you ready for this? For $250. Basically, I guess the guy had it, but it was his buddy's engine somehow. But he ended up with it. Basically, they had I want to say a '67 Impala that they did up. This was the original motor in that Impala. They decided to get rid of the 283 and put in a 400, which, hey, I mean, nothing wrong with that. 400s ran good too, and maybe one day we'll have one on this channel. He had this sitting in the garage, and I guess he's had it for a little while trying to dump it, and, he's a Ford guy, so he had no need for a Chevy. So you can imagine how awkward it was when I rolled up in this thing, and it was just like, hey, here to buy another small block Chevy, and he goes, oh, yeah, I'm a Ford guy. He was a good dude, though. But anyways, he was like, all right, so, I've been trying to sell this thing for like a month or two now. No one wants to buy it. It literally has this weird issue that it basically has a miss. And they never dug into it anymore because he's like, I had it in the car. It ran in the car. It ran great. And then one day it picked up a miss. There's other parts to the story to that I'll get into later that might explain some of this stuff. But, we're talking about it. And he's like, yeah, I just need it gone. He's like, it's taking up room in my garage. Give me $250 cash. It's yours. I pulled the money out, handed it to him, and said, see you later, bud. So if we come back here, on all of your small block Chevys, you're going to have your casting number here. That's 3896948. You look that up. That comes out to be a 67 283. How much horsepower do you think it made? 195, buddy. Shoo-wee. She is a horsepower monster. Okay, maybe not, but I got some game plans for this thing that I think you guys are gonna think that's really cool. And actually, some of the parts are hanging on the shelf back behind me for it. But let's get this thing up on a stand and let's tear some of it apart. I want to just kind of give it a brief check over. I'm going to pull the valve covers off. We'll just look at the valve train, stuff like that. But the other thing I want to do is I want to figure out what I can put it on and or in. And I think we should hear this thing run. Alrighty, so we got our 283 on the engine stand here. There's a few things we have to go over. Off camera last night, I started trying to dig around and see if I can find stuff so we could like fire this up. But I don't have the right starter, and we don't need the mechanical fuel pump, but the mechanical fuel pump isn't here, and obviously we're missing all of our accessories. So in the next video, when we actually do like the engine build on this, where we do the tear down then the build, we're gonna have to, you know, acquire all the correct parts. So we'll be digging into that. But the next thing I wanted to do here was pop off the valve covers. Mentioned earlier that this thing, when I bought it, the guy said that it ran, but it had a miss. And he showed me a video of it while it was still in the car running, and you know, you could definitely hear that it was missing and carrying on, so something's not right here. He had a few guys that, you know, came to look at this engine before I ended up buying it, and a lot of guys were like, oh, it might be wiping out a cam lobe or something like that, which, hey, definitely a possibility. But then I started asking him, if we come back here, this is an HEI distributor. These HEIs did not come on these 283s from the factory. I think the HEIs didn't come out until 73, 74. Sure, one of you guys will correct me whether that's, you know, accurate or not, but this would initially had a points distributor with a coil. They replaced that and put this HEI in, and I asked him, I was like, do you know what brand this HEI is? And he goes, no. He's like, I'm pretty sure, because I started looking over it, and usually if it was an MSD, it would have it written on it. It does not, so it's probably a cheap knockoff. Which you can pick these up on Amazon for like 50, 60 bucks. Because I was actually looking into buying something like this, because I have like maybe like one or two and a few parts, a few caps, a few rotors, stuff like that. But I was like, all right, probably should look into actually buying more. And almost went and purchased something on the lines of this, but then started reading the reviews and seeing that guys were having problems with brand new distributor. The coils were bad, the ignition modules were bad, and stuff like that. So if this, which clearly it looks like it's a cheaper HEI, I wouldn't be surprised that because they put cheaper components in it, that the pickup coil or the actual ignition module are bad, and that would be the reason why it's missing. Even if the cam lobe is wiped out and bad, which we're going to find out when we pull off the valve cover, I'm not too worried about it, mostly because it's getting a bigger cam anyways. But let's get the valve covers off and see what we got going on. All right, so we got the, what would be the even bank valve cover off here, and just kind of, you saw me spin it over there a little bit. One of the big things I like to check for too is when your nut's fully tightened, you want to look at your threads above it. If they were having an issue where, you know, trying to set valve flash or something and it was wiping out a lobe, there would be like, so if these were consistent, you'd see one of these sunk way harder. So usually what I'll do is I'll just kind of verify looking at the threads, and they all look very consistent. So driver's side looks like the same as the passenger side. Nothing really that I'm too awfully concerned about. Nothing visually, so interesting. Okay. So I took the time to run the casting number on the heads. I usually go off the last three, but it's a 520 head. Basically, the 520 head was what they called the power pack head for the 283s and the 327s. I think they had a 172 intake valve and a 150 exhaust with a 58cc chamber. So, you know, it's nothing like crazy, but it's actually not a terrible head. I know a lot of guys, for trying to get a little bit more horsepower, these things would love to use the 305 Vortec heads, or even like a 305 like HO head. But I'll be honest with you, for the application of this engine, I'm perfectly cool with these heads, seeing the numbers on them. The question is though, is what do we do? Do we, you know, pull the heads off and take them over to the, you know, Joe over at Barn Performance Machine? Do we deck them? Do we have them cut a new valve job? Honestly, this thing runs pretty good. I know I'm throwing another cam in it, but part of me wants to like not touch any of this. And the only thing maybe we touch is put different valve springs in it. And the only reason why I'm saying put different valve springs in it is because, you know, the cam specs of this cam that's in this engine, you know, the springs have been opening and closing that much for, you know, the past, I don't know, 60 years. So throwing a cam in it that will make the valve spring, instead of doing this, will make it do this. He'd probably break one, so we'll probably end up doing valve springs at least. The only other thing that I thought was weird too is that for these being the power pack head, these usually were in a 4-barrel application, yet here I am staring at a 2-barrel with, you know, the old 2-jet with the 2-barrel intakes. So that's also a little interesting as well. Don't know if someone did that. You kind of tell it's been like repainted-ish. So I don't know if that's the original paint or not. My guess would be someone rattle canned this at one point. But who knows? I don't know. Who knows? Could be multiple things. But either way, valve train looks good. So I'm not really sure what our issue with the miss is. Like I said, I don't think it's a wiped out cam lobe. I think it's this guy. One of the things I was thinking about doing was pulling the distributor out. Alrighty, update time. Pulled the distributor out of it, spun it over a bunch, made sure that, you know, she was good. Set her up to TDC on number 1. Got our rotor and the distributor pointed towards number 1 at TDC. And then reran the plug wires. And I did notice something. Just kind of looking over stuff here. And check out what would be the wire for numero, what's that, 4? I think we had some micey visitors. Now, question is, did that happen while it was inside the car? Because then if it's, you know, depending on how this was wired and stuff, if it's literally laying on the valve cover like that, it could be losing ground there, hence, you know, the miss. Interesting. I'm going to go over the rest of them here and just kind of look over all the plug wires to make sure that, you know, that isn't the case with all of them. But that very well could be a miss right there. Stuff like that could literally be the difference of, well, I'm scratching my head because this thing just won't run right, and then it running mint. So kind of got to watch out for stuff like that too. So I have another wire. I'm going to replace that one, and then, you know, we'll take it from there. Alrighty, so we end up buying a starter off of Amazon. It looks like it's going to work. Teeth look like they're right and everything now compared to the old one. So we have wire on it, so we're going to plug that. We're going to grab one of my batteries over there, throw that on it. And I was thinking to myself, you know, part of me just wants to say, you know, see if the starter works, put the battery on it, turn it over. Better judgment says, let's slow down. Let's pull out my compression tester kit, and we're going to go over every single hole on this, see what our compression is on each hole. If that all checks out, then we'll squirt the fuel to it, see if that HEI will bring this 283 back to life, and see if she fires up. We have our compression tester here. Basically what this does is basically tells us how healthy each cylinder is. Usually, rule of thumb, a healthy engine that's running on all 8, you should see within, you know, 20-25 pounds of each other, give or take. That usually shows that each hole is, you know, doing all right. And usually for a small block Chevy, I would usually like to see at least, you know, at least 100, 110 or higher. So say if we have, you know, 7 out of 8 holes are all within 120 to 130, and then we have one hole that's at like 60, and we're talking about, you know, PSI on the gauge, that basically means that hole has something going on with it. And that would basically mean that, you know, valve seat's not sealing, or the rings are pretty much done and it's leaking compression through the cylinder itself. I'm hoping that's not going to be the case with this engine at all, but we're going to set up our gauge here, and we got our starter hooked up. And so you guys watch this gauge here and tell me what y'all see. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to spin it over. I'm going to roughly count to 5 in my head or so. So, ready? My little man Oliver wrote me up, cut me out some cardboard lists, and, you know, had steps on it, so we know how, you know, what we got to do on projects. But it will also work out perfectly for writing down our compression numbers. So cylinder number 1 was, what do we say, 102, give or take. Now at this point, what we're going to do is I'm going to run down what would be the driver's side or the odd bank. So we're going to go 1, 3, 5, 7, and then we'll go 2, 4, 6, 8. and then we'll be able to look at all of our numbers and see what we got. All right, test for number 3. That's 140. Oh boy, here we go. Number 5. $126, right? No, we'll say 125. Number 7. 131. Now, time to go over to the even bank side. Cylinder number 2. $146. Number 4, here in a second. Call that let's see, that'd be 90, 100, 5, 10, 15. We'll call that like 111. $142. $144. All right, looking at our compressions here, strongest cylinder was number 2 with 146, and then number 8 with 144. 6 had 142. A lot of healthy cylinders. The concerning ones is 1 and 4 with 103 and 111. You know, seeing almost 40 PSI difference, I don't want to say that that's necessarily good, but I'm not going to call that fully bad either. Honestly, if it had any less than 100, I'd be seriously concerned. But with it being 103 and the rest of them kind of all coming, you're relatively within 20 to 30-ish of that. I mean, obviously the 43 more is not what we'd necessarily like to see, but I'm not going to say that that's necessarily bad. So I think our bottom end is pretty fair. I really wish that 103 was like a, you know, match that like 111 or something and made me feel a little concerned about it, but we're going to let her fly. That's going to be one of those if you squint is mint. All right. Okay, let's see if she'll fire off. Alright, update time. I've been messing around for the past half hour trying to get this thing to run. Cranking on it, backfire, fire, you know, wouldn't full come up and run. So I said, all right, pull the driver's side valve cover back off, make sure, you know, that I can verify the timing because I saw it, but I'm going to bring you guys in and show you what we're looking at here. What else is going on there? So let's see what happens. I'm going to spin it over. Did you notice how both of them for number 8? Well, no, that one might not even spun either. Let me watch it again.
I don't think
they're all gone. They're all messed up.
No, I didn't know.
Interesting. So after a little bit of a scare yesterday with our push rods not wanting to spin, the Midnight Demons must have came down here and messed with it, because I came down here and just kind of started spinning over, playing with our push rods. Put the battery on it, started spinning over, and next thing you know, they all are, you know, spinning now. And I even went and checked the passenger side, and they're all spinning as well. So, okay. I decided to bring it back up on TDC on number 1 and get it right with our harmonic balancer, which I didn't do before. And you ready for this? And this is a common mistake that a lot of people make, and I just made it myself when I felt like I probably should have known better, but I know why it was only half firing yesterday, not wanting to fully run. Ready for this? As some of you may guessed, found the problem. She's 180 out, so we got a whoop shoop put it back in and get her pointing over towards number 1. Oh, silly goose. Quack, quack. All right, rotor's pointing back at number 1, and we're up on TDC, as you can see. Both the intake and exhaust valve aren't doing anything. On our harmonic balancer, it says we're okay. So let's try this again, eh? A little bit. Alrighty, 283 is on another engine stand tucked over here in our engine assembly room next to the old 307. And look, I would have loved to mess around with this 283 more to get it to actually fully run on the stand, but I don't have all the stuff. I don't have the I don't have a fuel pump, and I don't have a bunch of other stuff. I was filling the bowl, and I probably, if I messed with the timing more and honestly had like 4 more sets of hands, probably could have had this thing fired up and running. But at this point, I don't have enough time. Those two are going to be going in a project vehicle and working together. And if you're wondering what project vehicle, it's going in, well, those two came out of something. Those two are probably going in something. Just going to leave that there. If you've been around the channel long enough, you already know what the game plan is for those two. And I hate kind of leaving this video on this note. I kind of wish we would have had it run on the stand for you guys, and I feel like you guys probably were looking forward to that. But honestly, I am so busy with stuff. And, after the whole month of April doing weekly uploads, and then, because we're mid-April now that I'm recording this video, or at least this part of the video. So it's probably, May when you guys are seeing this. Power Tour's right around the corner, and have I touched the crew cab? No, not at all. So I'm going to be jamming to get that thing back together. We literally have a bunch of parts waiting to go in it. Literally, brand new 20-gallon fuel tank with fuel sending unit and fuel pump. That needs to go in the truck. We need all the gauges working, all that kind of stuff. I still have to fully shake down the whole front end, because I haven't done that yet. But here we are. So I hope you guys can understand why sometimes I got to cut stuff short. And plus, what you guys got to remember, too, is I'm pretty much a one-man band doing this. I do have to thank my family and friends when they step in and help out when they do. Alrighty, that is going to do it for this video. We have a lot of work to do. This engine is not going anywhere. We have a bunch of game plans for it that I think you guys are going to be excited for. In the next video, we're going to be doing a teardown on this thing. The intake's coming off, water pump's coming off, timing cover's coming off. We're pulling out our cam, our lifters, and our push rods for full inspection. With that being said, get out in the garage, start wrenching on your projects, because your dreams will never come true unless you put the work in. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time here on Boneyard Revivals. Take care.